Welcome to United Nations Academic Impact and our digital discussion series podcast. To commemorate the International Day of Reflection on the Genocide in Rwanda, we'll be speaking with Honore Gatera, the manager of Kigali Genocide Memorial in Kigali, Rwanda. The Kigali Genocide Memorial is the final resting place for more than 250,000 victims of the genocide. The memorial has been an important place of remembrance of and learning about the genocide since it opened in April 2004. 23 years have passed since the Rwandan genocide. The reconciliation process, however, has not yet been completed. Building and sustaining peace requires further effort. This is why the Sustainable Development Goal 16, Peace, Justice, and Strong Institutions matters. Goal 16 is not just about ending war and reducing violence, but promoting the peaceful and inclusive society required for sustainable development. Today's podcast aims to promote a better understanding of the ongoing reconciliation process in Rwanda and its relation to the Sustainable Development Goal 16. Hello, Honore. We are very happy to have this opportunity to speak with you.
Hello.
What would you like to tell us about the history of the Kigali Genocide Memorial and its objectives?
The Kigali Genocide Memorial is a place of remembrance and learning that was created in 1999. The primary objective of creating the Kigali Genocide Memorial was to have a dignified burial place for thousands, hundreds of thousands of victims whose bodies were laying around the city of Kigali. This place in 1999, when it was being built, it's in 2001 when the first burials happened here at the memorial in Gisozi. And in 2004, that's when the other objectives were added on, when the Kigali Genocide Memorial Museum was created and officially opened. This museum was being opened and created by support from different organizations, but the design and the creation of the museum was done in partnership with the Aegis Trust, which is a charity organization from England that helped to set up this memorial museum. And from then, the museum was operating to narrate the background of the genocide against Tutsi, tell the history, but also share the journey of Rwandans in building this nation. And having this museum was one key way to tell the story, show the reason why Rwandans have to reconcile, and make sure that it's a museum that is dynamic in a way that it will keep the conversation with the community, Rwandan community and international community, depending on which period of history we are in.
Now let's talk about your programs. Education is prerequisite for sustainable peace. Your institution has provided a number of quality educational programs, including a Remembrance and Learning Tour. Could you tell our listeners more about these programs?
It's true that the Kigali Genocide Memorial has now implemented several programs. One of them being a big program that ended up by being captured by the Rwanda Education Board, where we teach peace values. And the program is called Peace Education. And this has been integrated into the curriculum of Rwanda as a cross-cutting subject for high schools. However, this is on a formal way of teaching young Rwandans, teaching young people about the values such as critical thinking, such as empathy, such as personal responsibility, and active bystandership. But on the informal side of our work of education, as I said, we've been able to welcome thousands and thousands, around 1 million visitors have now passed into the memorial exhibition. And among those people, we have VIP, we have educationalists, we have church groups, we have international conference attendants, and others. So the other program that is very important is the Remembrance and Learning Tours, because in Rwanda, in each area where you pass, you will find that there is a memorial, which means that each single corner of Rwanda has history. We wanted to tell visitors of this country the younger generations of Rwanda that the places we go to, the places that we have in our country, embed history of the genocide. So we want this history to be told, to be preserved, but also to use it for the purposes of education so that someone who will be born in 2050 will know, for example, that this is the particular sport where the hate radio, RTLM, was based. That's just an example I'm giving. So the remembrance and learning tools have this purpose of making sure that these important sports in history are not forgotten, but are used, are kept, are preserved, so that everyone among our visitors and the younger generation in Rwanda will keep learning from these sports that contain important history of the genocide against Tutsi in Rwanda.
What programs do you have for supporting the survivors of the genocide?
The program we have to support the genocide survivors in this country, since 2004, when the Aegis Trust joined in Rwanda and when many of us, including myself, started working at this memorial center, we knew that out there in the community, the survivors are suffering, not only physically, but mentally, physically, and even financially, because most of the properties of the survivors were destroyed in the genocide. So as a group of staff, we initiated a program that we called social program, now currently called Rebuilding Lives in Rwanda. And this program was to give contributions from ourselves to support a small number of survivors that we could support in a way of providing education or school fees for the young children who are in high schools and universities, to support the vulnerable survivors who are disabled now because of the experience of the genocide, to support survivors who are old and can't work anymore. And this program grew up slowly until it became an official program of the memorial, whereby it keeps supporting those people, young ones in high schools, disabled survivors, older survivors who are unable to do their own activities by purchasing homes for them, by renovating their homes if they do have those homes, and in some cases renting homes for them because they are unable. And it has been a process, it has been a process that is successful because among those people, we now have graduates from universities that can sustain themselves and sustain their families. And that was our primary objective, to make sure that we support people who will in the future be supporting themselves and supporting their families.
Now we're going to talk about your experiences with the memorial. You have received visitors from all over the world. Could you tell us about your most memorable experience with visitors from abroad?
I will say that it's very hard to remember. As you started, you said that I have received many visitors from around the world, thousands and thousands that have been through my eyes, and each experience is unique. And I will not find one that is particularly memorable because each visit teaches me something. I'm the one to tell the story. I'm the one educating people about the experience of the genocide against Tutsi in Rwanda. But in each case, each visitor, each individual teaches me something new. And this has actually helped me to learn that we are all humans. If humanity could get together, I'm quite sure that we share everything. We share the values. We know what is bad for us. We know what is good for us. So that's what I have learned from the experience of so many people that I received. And I'm lucky because this educational experience is not happening to everyone. So moments that are memorable are always there. Like I remember it was 10 years ago when I received the former president of the United States, George W. Bush. I was expecting the visit to be too official, but in the end, it became a conversation. It became a conversation between me, who was the guide, and the former president. And it was deep and a good experience for me to feel that I'm educating the president about the root causes of the genocide, that he's educating me from his broader knowledge of the world as the president of the United States. So that's why basically I say each experience with each visitor teaches me a lot. And I would even say that more than what I teach them, because the value of humanity is very important for us. Because me, I'm talking about a sad story, and we are discussing about the recovery, and that's why I always learn from our visitors.
What is the most rewarding part of your work with the memorial?
This is a good question, but I will respond it not in an official way, but in a personal way, and in a way that I think this is my real feeling. My real feeling is that this job, this work of the memorial, the rewarding part is to have a future free from genocide ideologies and hatred among people. So it's an objective that cannot be achieved in 5, 10, 20 years. It's an objective that needs to be permanent and very permanent. So I think the reward that I would feel in my work is that I see that happening in my next 25 years, so that whenever I will not be in this world, at least I will feel that I have left a legacy to people, a legacy to humanity, that we need to get together, that we need to avoid hatred, that we need to avoid whatever that can separate us and send us again to the dark moments of genocide and mass atrocities around the world.
Great, you must be really proud of your work. Now we're going to talk about the Sustainable Development Goal, also known as SDG, and the International Day of Reflection on the Genocide in Rwanda. SDG 16, Peace, Justice, and Strong Institutions, aims at building sustainable peace. Ending war does not always represent the end of the conflict. What do you think are the most important actions to be taken, and by whom, for building sustainable peace in a post-conflict situation?
Right, yeah. This is a question that so many people, when they look at it, they give responsibilities to governments and institutions. But personally, I believe that the most important actions that need to be taken by individuals. And when it starts from individuals, it can be expanded to families and goes to the communities and then it goes to the nations. I'm saying this because many people become bystanders and not active bystanders, because it always seems that it's not their concern. But if peace and sustainable peace is on their watch, I believe that we can achieve sustainable peace. And we shouldn't give responsibilities to our governments, to our institutions, while we are not concerned about what they are telling us. I believe that, strong institutions can play a very big role into sustainable peace. And in many cases, in developing the African countries, we've learned that in experience that countries that don't have strong institutions are the ones to fail. Democracy are the ones to fail, passing the power from one government to another. So I think building this institution is very important, and it's quite necessary for any country. But in my opinion, I think we need to support those institutions, because whatever they are doing it for the people. And this is the main reason why I'm saying let us individuals be agents of change to sustainable development goals and make sure that we are building sustainable peace. And we have a proverb in Kinyarwanda that says, "Ujya gutera uburezi arabwibanza," or "Ijya kurisha ihera ku rugo." So it means that if I try to translate in English, that whatever positive values that you need to teach others should start by yourself, should start by your home and your family. And then governments and institutions can be looking at the overall goals that we need to achieve together, and then we play our contributions into making sure that we have sustainable peace in our communities and our countries.
Thanks for your insight. Taking into account the fact that on 7 April we commemorate the International Day of Reflection on the Genocide in Rwanda, What activities,
Mm-hmm.
in your view, can the international community undertake to prevent genocide in the future and help countries in the process of reconstruction and reconciliation like Rwanda?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a very important question. We are responding to it, and I wonder if there was anyone like me in 1970, because the world and the international community said never again to genocide. Let alone 1975, there was a genocide in Cambodia. 19 years later, there was this genocide against Tutsi in Rwanda. And you always wonder, will humanity be marked by failures as what we've experienced from 1948 when this resolution was taken? And here is the question of, or this is the kind of question that we should be asking ourselves as the global humanity community or the international community. Because I look at it as this was the biggest failure that humanity has ever had in history. And the biggest question is that what should be undertaken as to prevent genocide in the future and help the countries that are developing. Personally, I believe that any case of hatred, any case of divisionism that is out there in the world should be attracting our attention before it erupts into a genocide. I was 13 years old when the genocide was happening, and I can remember how the international community abandoned Rwanda. Even if we were seeing them present, even if we were seeing the blue helmets in our country. But in the end, you see the inaction. I think one of the actions that needs to be taken is action, not the inaction of the international community, where they are seeing everything happening in the eyes. When I talk about the international community, it's about all of us. And looking at the progress that countries are making and how this process of reconstruction and reconciliation is going in Rwanda, I think the international community needs to join their hands together with Rwandans. They have been doing it, but I always considering it not enough. Because one of the striking reality is that when we see the genocide, the genociders, or those who participated in the killings are still running around the world, and then there is inaction of bringing them to justice, I always consider this as another failure to the support that the international community should be offering to Rwanda in the process of unity and reconciliation. There is support, but it needs to be strengthened in all aspects to make sure that now Rwanda feels that we are part of this international community despite the fact that we've been abandoned. And I think Rwanda is doing it when you see the African forces that are in different countries like Central African Republic. I believe that such actions for a country that is recovering from the genocide, we are the ones to know how it hurts. We are the ones who know the experience and its consequences. So for us to feel much more integrated with this international community, hands needs to be put together and contribute to different aspects of this process of reconciliation, as I said, like bringing the genocide perpetrators to justice and making sure that the homegrown solutions in Rwanda are well supported, because Rwandans believe much more in these homegrown solutions as one key tool that helps them to reach the phase of reconciliation that we are at in Rwanda now.
Thank you again for joining us today, Honore. We really appreciate your being such an inspiration to our listeners.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. We'd like to thank our listeners for joining UNAI in our Digital Discussion Series podcast. To learn more about UNAI and our activities, please visit our website at academicimpact.un.org or join the conversation on social media at ImpactUN.